Well, all right, let's get started, shall we? First and foremost, let me just say thank you so much for accepting the interview, and it's such an honor to be sitting here interviewing one of my childhood idols.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, like I'll mention throughout the interview, I've been playing Star Fox since like forever. I mean, it's been part of my childhood.
That's crazy. It's people email me from all over the world, all ages, and I have to remind myself that a lot of people played that game, and it's just for I don't know how many other voiceover people you've interviewed, but it's kind of out of sight, out of mind for a lot of us, just because we do so many varied projects, you know.
No, yeah, I get you. I mean, we've interviewed a lot of voice actors, and they've all pretty much have said the same thing. But anyway, let's get started with the interview. So first question: when you began your career, what kind of voiceover were you doing? As in, what type of voiceover work were you partaking in?
I was a radio announcer. I started radio in high school. It was a crazy, weird situation. I've always been kind of a geek about listening to radio when I was a kid, and it was like my best friend. Radio was, and I also had a reel-to-reel analog tape deck that my brother had, and he didn't use. So I would just make goofy sounds with that thing all the time, and I always thought, how come my friends aren't into this like I am? It's like, look, it's a tape recorder. You can make stuff and speed it up and make it backwards. And they were like, yeah, let's just go play baseball. So then high school comes around, and there's a radio station in our high school, which is very unusual. It still exists, and I still actually I do their IDs and all that stuff for them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean they made my life really. I would have been a total wreck had it not been for that radio station. So yeah, I started in high school doing radio, and the day after high school, I got a job at a radio station, and probably besides like in between contracts and stuff, I worked in radio for, geez, well from 19. This will date me now. 1975 until about I did a Beatles show up until about 2 years ago. So that's a long radio career. That's what I did. I was a radio guy, mostly mornings. Worked in Los Angeles at a rock station in the 80s, but came back to Seattle where I was born. We just wanted to raise our kids here. We realized quickly that LA for us was not the place to raise our family, even though the opportunities were just over the top. But you just have to decide what's more important. And family was more important than having some mondo radio whatever career. Born in Seattle, lived in LA for a while, came back here and ended my career here in Seattle. Ended my career. It's over. Yeah.
So essentially, that high school radio led into voicing characters for video games?
We did a lot of theater of the mind. I wasn't just like, your time and temperature, like good afternoon, it's play the hits kind of. For some reason, we were allowed to do a lot of produced comedy, and we got a lot of accolades for that. And we won, all kinds of little radio awards, and got a lot of job offers because of this comedy that we were doing. It was, I guess, for my generation, you could compare it to something like Saturday Night Live. In the midst of that, I just came up with all these weird, screwy voices. I wasn't like doing impersonations. We were just coming up with wacky voices. And I guess somebody from Nintendo heard all the stuff that we had done all these years, and that's how it happened. I mean, they just contacted me one day and said, "You want to try out for a game?" And I said, "Oh, okay." But I did a lot of retail commercials and all kinds of goofy stuff, just to make some extra money, and plus it was just fun, just to do something different, besides just being a radio guy every day. So that's how that happened.
So you were basically doing radio improv.
Yeah, a lot of radio improv. I mean, we still did regular radio, but we just did a lot of comedy stuff, and fortunately, we worked for a company that always said, as long as you don't get us in trouble, like with the FCC, just go for it. If it's successful and you're making money for you and us, let's just have some fun. I worked for a lot of really cool radio companies before it was these giant conglomerates that we have now. We actually even worked for Disney for a while. They were just a fantastic company to work for.
I personally believe a company that allows you to input your full creativiness into a project is the best company to work for.
Yeah, it was just great. I mean, they trusted us to do good radio, and like I said, as long as we didn't cause if we didn't lose their broadcast license for them, they were fine with whatever we did. So that's how I ended up in Los Angeles, just because all the goofy stuff we had done. We got offers to go all over the place. I actually almost worked in New York for NBC on the guise of being a writer for Saturday Night Live, just because of the stuff that we were coming up with. But I chickened out, didn't do that job. So that's the kind of stuff we did.
Well, if you would have gone and done that, I don't think you would have gotten the opportunity to voice Fox in the Star Fox series.
Yeah, all goofy timing, isn't it? Everything's timing and luck. Yeah.
Now that we have that established, let's go ahead and move on and talk about your experience voicing Fox McCloud in the very first Star Fox video game series that had, vocal tracks. And of course, I am talking about 1994's release of Star Fox 64.
Yeah, so as far as I recall, because it was a while ago, I just got a call one day from somebody, and they asked if I would like to come in and audition for a game. And I thought, wow, that sounds kind of fun. So I just recall going to the offices of Nintendo, sitting in just this little nondescript room with a chair and and a desk, and they handed me a script and said, read these lines. And so I read a bunch of lines and with a bunch of different voices, and just thought, okay, if it happens, it happens. Cool, and I'll just go back to my little radio job. So I think I got a call within a couple of months, and they said, this game is a go. And so I went to a studio. It's no longer around. It was called Ear Force in Seattle. It was an old train station, actually, that they converted to
Oh, wow.
studio. It was a beautiful studio. Great.
Great acoustics, I assume.
Yeah. It was just really cool place. So we just went in there and recorded all these lines with a bunch of Nintendo people on the other side of the glass. Then I kind of forgot about it. And then what happened was my son's buddy, next door neighbor, Jack Thomas, and a buddy across the street were upstairs in our house one day playing Nintendo. And I walked upstairs and whoa, that's me. I didn't even know the game came out because I'm not a game player, or I wasn't at the time. And I thought, wow, that's what it was. That's Star Fox. That's kind of how it happened. It was just cool and weird, that it ended up as a kind of a crazy, fun game.
There's a huge gap between 1997's release of Star Fox 64 and 2011's release of Star Fox 64 3DS. And in between those years, you didn't voice Fox McCloud, a role that went on to other voice actors. What happened, and why didn't you come back to voice Fox?
It was, again, kind of out of sight, out of mind. I didn't even know there were other games at the time. And then when they called me back, that's when I kind of learned that they had done some different stuff and used different actors. And I really didn't even question it. I just figured, that's voice work is like that. You'll do a job for a company for a few years, like a car commercial. You'll do a car dealership for, whatever. And then all of a sudden they say they're going to go in a different direction, and then it's over. And I just figured, it's just a different game, and they just didn't like my voice or whatever. They wanted it to be, however they wanted it to be. And it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm not doing Star Fox anymore, because I didn't even know that there were other games. Then they just brought it back, and I think there was also Smash.
The one with all the Nintendo characters in it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure why. Maybe who knows how those decisions are made. I don't know. I'm just glad I got to do it again, because it's just super fun to work. The people at Nintendo are awesome. They're just great people. So it was a treat to come back and do it again.
So speaking strictly of Star Fox 64 3DS, did you re-record your lines, or did Nintendo simply just look through their archives?
No, I recall that we did all the lines over again. What I remember about those sessions is they had the old lines and they would play them back. there were certain lines that they wanted to recreate almost exactly, and then there were some other lines that they kind of wanted a different direction, and so that's how it happened. Usually those sessions last for 2 or 3 days. We just, like start at 8 o'clock and barrel through till about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and then we come back the next day and it's just line, like 4, 5, 6, 7 takes of each line until they're happy or I'm happy, and then that's how it happens. It's it's pretty fun.
So, for any of the other Star Fox video games, did you get to work alongside the other voice actors?
No, the only time I've ever worked with other voice actors in the same room was, oh gosh, what game was that? We did some spots. They looked like, well, actually, the people that do Muppets created some TV spots. Oh gosh, was it Star Fox Zero? Maybe it was Star Fox Zero.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe Star Fox Zero had this TV or YouTube promo where they had actual puppets, like Muppet puppets, with the Star Fox team members on there.
Fox McCloud, it's his sky, you're just flying in it.
Fox! Fox! Your finger's on the transmit button.
Nice one, Foxy.
Yeah. So that was the only time that we all, and it wasn't even all of us. I think there were 3 or 4 of us that worked together. We were on, well, it was not Zoom back then, but it was a similar thing where we were looking at the director in Los Angeles, and they were watching us, and we were just, doing like ADR to what they had already produced. And yeah, so no, most of the time, well, all of the time, you're just in the studio all by yourself. You're either watching some video clips that have already been produced, or you're just reading lines and hoping that they're going to match up to whatever the animators have come up with.
It's not like they can reanimate the entire video game just for the English version.
Yeah, and I'm sure I've talked about this before, but that was a challenge, especially for the character that I was doing, because some of the lines in Japanese were really fast and some of them were kind of drawn out. So instead of being able to emote what you wanted to emote, you had to fit it into a certain time period. Like you had to do a line that would usually, if in a perfect world, it would be like a 10-second line, you had to do it in 5 or 6 seconds. So then you had to kind of rush through but still, create some sort of emotion or whatever they're trying to go for. That was always a challenge. It was, a fun challenge, but you still, sometimes you were going, oh man, I don't know how they're going to make that work. Sometimes they would time compress something just to fit it in a little better. But yeah, you just do what you do. It's a lot easier to make somebody like the VO guy.
And have them do the mouth flaps.
Yeah. Right.
Going back to Star Fox 64 3DS, for this particular game, you not only voiced Fox, but also, for the first time ever, voiced Andrew Oikuni and Wolf O'Donnell, a role that was formerly voiced by actor Grant Goodeve and J. Frank Ward. Tell me more about that.
I didn't know that Grant Goodeve did that. Do you know who Grant Goodeve is?
Yes, of course. He's an 80s TV star from a show called Enough is Enough or something like that.
Yes. Kind of a folk singer guy, good looking dude. He lived in Seattle, so that's how that happened. Really nice guy, just a sweet guy. I never knew him during this whole Fox thing, but we would run into each other the studio that we worked out of mostly was called Bad Animals. And then prior to that was called K. Smith Studios. And they were coincidentally the owners of the radio station that we worked for that let us do what we wanted to do. Seattle's a small town, Well, it was, at least, back in the day. Everyone knew everyone. So yes, Grant Goodeve did that. And then Jay Ward also, we worked together at a radio station. He was the production director at a radio station. And coincidentally, he used to come to myself and a couple other people that were doing VO stuff because he wanted to get into that business, and boy, did he. He's just great. He does a lot of incredible stuff. That new Wolf that he did, oh my God, there's just some...
Oh, you mean for Starling? Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, his voice in Starling sounds so, aside from villainous, sounds so, elegant and educated, like the villain that Wolf O'Donnell conveys.
Yes, so menacing sounding. Yeah, just great.
Never thought I'd miss the food on Corneria.
Great stuff. There were a lot of little voices that I did that never got credit on there, I guess. And the only reason I know that is because other people have told me, but I probably did like 4 or 5 different little voices for that game. I guess, it's a money saver for Nintendo. It's like, we got you in the studio. Why don't you try to do this thing? So whatever. You don't get paid for individual voices. You just get paid for the session that you're doing at the time.
And are we talking about Star Fox 64?
Yeah, and I have no idea who they were, what they were. I can't remember now. I should have done my due diligence here and research that. But I think I did Fox's dad.
Oh, James McCloud.
Yes, James. Yes, the solemn James speaking from the past.
Sort of like the Yoda.
Yes. Yeah.
Go back to your friends, Fox.
Yes. Oh, you're making me cringe.
Oh, God. So, elaborate on how was it playing Wolf O'Donnell?
I can't remember what I even did then. I don't even know. You'll have to send me a clip so I can re-educate my brain, because I can't even remember what I did. Was he a mean guy or?
I'm of course talking about Wolf O'Donnell, Fox's rival. According to your IMDb credits, you are credited as Wolf O'Donnell in the Star Fox 64 3DS. However, there are a lot of information out there that says that Jay Ward was actually the voice of Wolf.
Oh.
It has the entire fan base confused as to who really did the voice of Wolf, and I figured you cleared that up. But listening into the cutscenes in the game, it sounds so much like you, but it credits Jay, I believe, in the game.
So he ripped me off. Jay did. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him back.
Funny we mentioned Jay because about an hour ago we contacted him in regards to an interview. So I mean, we haven't received a yes or no reply from him yet. Granted, I've only contacted him about an hour ago, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, he'll do it. Yeah, he's a cool guy. I'm sure you found that most voice people are pretty accessible, and if he disses you, I'll find him. I'll seek him out. Wolf will find Wolf.
For the release of Star Fox Zero, there was a Japanese animated short featuring Fox McCloud. However, Joe Zija took over the role of Fox McCloud. Why is that, and why weren't you in it?
That was an interesting deal because that happened almost right after all of us did our lines, and then we got called to do it, and then all of a sudden, none of us did it. Everyone that did it was from Hollywood, and the only thing I remember is a couple people from Nintendo called and said, I'm so sorry that this happened. It was beyond our control, and I don't know. I thought they did a great job. It's like, man, I should have read some lines like that. But yeah, again, it's like one of those things, and you live in LA, you know how this crazy business works. There's really no rhyme or reason for stuff that you'll ever know. I'm sure they're behind closed doors. They have a reason for that. I think maybe I'm speaking out of turn here, but because of the way that film was made, or the video was made, I think it was a union job, and all of us voice people are either union or we call it FICOR, so you can do union stuff, but you still pay dues. You can do non-union or union work. I think they only wanted people that were SAG-AFTRA to do that job, because the company that I don't even know who did the video, but I think they were a SAG company. That was the explanation we all got. And I think now that I remember, I also got a call from the woman who runs Bad Animals, and she was pretty upset that they didn't do the work, because they had done all the work for Nintendo up until that time. So, but it's no big deal. I thought the film was, I keep saying film, but I thought the video was super cool. I wish we would have done it, but oh well.
So you did see it?
Oh, yeah, because somebody said, hey, how come you guys are not on this thing? Say, what? So, no big deal, though.
Yeah, I just recently saw the video myself. I don't own the game Star Fox Zero just because I'm a gamer myself, but I hardly have the time between my work and running my website. I hardly have the time to game. So there's a point in me, going in and wasting $300 for a system or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just recently saw the short, and it's an amazing job. The animation was, this in and itself could be the start of a series or a movie, animated movie. Imagine that. Animated Star Fox movie starting, you, Mike West, as Star Fox, as Fox McCloud.
Put in a good word, okay?
Definitely will. I'm sure the fans will too. Yeah, a lot of fans were disappointed that you were not the voice of Fox. I mean, no bad feedback to Joe Zija. He did a great job too.
Yeah, yeah, he's a pro.
We like consistency here.
So do I.
So there hasn't been any recent Star Fox games that have been released. However, the newest game that features Fox McCloud is Starlink Battle for Atlas.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I've only looked at the cutscenes, and I haven't played the game, although I have it here. But I'm not really a game player right now. So, but that was a really cool project that I didn't understand because I didn't know that these two companies would work together. But boy, they sure did, and it was a good looking game. I thought. And everyone kept saying, "Well, why doesn't Nintendo do this? Why didn't Nintendo make a game like this?" So, have you played it? Do you have any feeling about it?
Oh, I love it. It's the only thing I play. I mean, I'm not a gamer myself, but when I do game, Starlink is basically the only game that I like. I mean, it's weird how Nintendo did not come out with a Star Fox game like this, because this is a unique open world game where you can basically visit any planet you like within, of course, the parameters of the game, but it's open world, free world. It's all the range mode, basically.
I wonder, this pandemic has caused all kinds of problems and heartache and you name it. And I just wonder if something like that will happen in the future, if they're even going to do anything more with the franchise. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all up in the air right now. I mean, Star Fox Zero, I don't know if you're aware, but Star Fox Zero is a reboot for the series.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so the entire it's disappointing in a way, because all the other characters that appeared in Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox Assault, is the ones that you were not involved in. They featured characters that were great, and one of them was my favorite one, and I named myself after her, is Crystal the Fox.
Yeah.
Who, although she gets trapped in a crystal, go figure, she is a fighter and she is a survivor, and she has these attributes that are for fighting, and I think she comes out in Super Smash Brothers, I think, as a trophy or something.
Oh, wow.
She doesn't come out anywhere in any of the recent games, and with the new reboot, it's up in the air whether or not she will ever come out again.
So, educate me a little bit. What is it? What will the reboot entail?
The reboot entailed whatever happened in Star Fox Zero. So real quick crash course: Star Fox 64 is actually a remake of Star Fox, the first one that came out, the very first one back in 1993, I think, or 95.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they made Star Fox 64 3DS, which is a remastered version of 64, and then finally they reimagined those three games in Star Fox Zero, and they rebooted the entire series there, and that's Star Fox Zero is basically now the beginning of the Star Fox franchise, basically.
Ah, thus Zero.
Exactly, yes.
Bingo. Star Fox is oxygen deprived, apparently, and it takes him a while to figure these things out. Oh, God.
You're a good pilot, Fox. You're a good pilot.
That's it. Yeah, everyone has one skill.
But yeah, that's it's up in the air, and a lot of fans are kind of wondering, okay, well, what's going to happen? Is the other characters going to come back? What's going to happen? I think in Star Fox Zero, they've been, was it Star Fox? Because I remember I don't know if you were involved in this or how involved you were back in 1997, but there was, between Star Fox 1 and Star Fox 64, there was a game called Star Fox 2, which never came out. It was done and ready, and it was ready for its release, but never came out. It was totally canceled. It was called Star Fox 2. Did you have any kind of involvement in that?
I did read about that. Yes, we were not involved with that game. But I do remember doing something. There was another project that did get canceled, and I mean, we all still got paid and everything, but
Dinosaur Planet?
gosh, I can't remember.
Was it part of the Star Fox series?
Yeah, it was.
Then it was probably Dinosaur Planet, because that's another game that got canceled and then remade into what is now known as Star Fox Adventures.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Could have been that. It was a game made by Rare, a company that's I'm not sure if it was a British or Japanese company that was helping developing that game with Nintendo, and that was the game that debuted Crystal.
Okay.
In Dinosaur Planet, I think Crystal had more of a bigger role than in the what is now known as Star Fox Adventures.
Interesting. I don't know what the rest of the gaming world is like, but it seems like this franchise has been all over the book.
Oh yeah, I mean they have comic book series about this. They have a Japanese comic book called a manga that features characters that were never in the game, that were in Star Fox 2, but of course at the time nobody knew that because it was a canceled game. So when they release it, they released it with the comic book characters. I think one of the characters from the comic book appears in Star Fox 64 3D. Her name is Kat.
Oh yeah, now that one, for some reason people always, when they email me, they always go, "Why? Where did Kat go? Why? I want Kat back." And all this. I'm like, I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. I don't know these things.
But again, adding to what you said earlier about this game, yeah, it's been everywhere. Apparently, from puppet making shorts to Japanese animation to reboots and remakes and remasters. So.
Well, whether all of us are involved with it or not, I hope it continues in some form and fashion in the future.
I so want a consistent storyline or a consistent video game series of Star Fox.
Yeah, me too.
Because there's so many characters that they appear in the other games, but whether they go afterwards, nobody knows.
Interesting. You live in a very strange world, you know that, don't you?
I do?
Yes, video games are just crazy. It's a crazy world.
It's just a Star Fox series. If you talk to me about other video games, I probably have no idea. It's Star Fox, because again, Star Fox has been in my childhood since I was born in '94, but it's been with me since like day one practically.
Well, now, why did it take you so long to call me?
You're a hard person to contact and to find.
Am I really?
Yeah, I got lost somewhere in the Light system trying to find you.
Funny. You're original.
Thank you. While recording for any of the Star Fox games, do you remember if there were any funny bloopers?
Yeah, just because I'm such an idiot. The one thing I do remember is instead of saying what is it?
Arwing?
Yeah, I would say air wing. Here's a little secret. I may have mentioned this before somewhere along the lines, but I'm dyslexic, as you know what. I mean, I'm serious. It's been kind of it's been rough over the years because writing certain words, reading certain words, they almost look backwards on a piece of paper. So once in a while, I'll say stuff that is just totally screwed up. If I'm doing something like this game, it's not as bad because the lines are not very long. But for voice work, sometimes I'll record a spot for something, a TV spot, and then the next thing you know, there's an 800 number that goes with it for just about every city in the country. And so you're doing like 600 phone numbers. Call 1-800-325-8. And invariably, I will say things totally backwards. But at the time, they look perfect to me. And so the editor will call back and go, you juxtaposed 4 numbers there. So, yeah, that's usually why I screwed up, just because the words kind of got jumbled on the piece of paper. So, yeah, R-Wing, couple other things. I remember this when we did Starlink, I said something totally stupid. And the editor the next day, when we were just kind of booting up all the equipment and stuff, he had edited it into the actual animated scene, one of the cut scenes. I'm sure it's around somewhere. I screwed up because I am dyslexic. That's my excuse.
When your line would be check your G diffuser system in your R wing, you would say something like check your G diffuser system in your air wing.
Yeah, something stupid like that. Yeah. Check your diffuser G system, or check system your G diffuser. Barrel roll Dua.
I was going to say exactly that. You've done one too many barrels there, Fox.
Yes, I'm dizzy. My little Fox brain is scrambled.
you not only had the opportunity to voice Fox for the first time ever, because when the first Star Fox 64 game came out, nobody knew how Fox McCloud was going to sound like until you came along. So you basically brought him to life. Many of your fans have been with you throughout your journey, myself included. What would you tell them if they were here with you right now?
I would say, and you may think this is crazy because it's just a video game, but this is the coolest thing that I've heard over the years, that people that did not speak English that played the game, people that had trouble at like dyslexia or just were slow to learn how to read. I hear so many people say that they learned how to read by watching Star Fox 64 and Star Fox Zero, especially Star Fox 64, that it actually helped them in their lives. That to me is the coolest thing, because from what I know, it's one of the first games that actually, talked like it did. Is that true?
That's why I said that you had the opportunity to voice Fox, give him a voice. You actually gave him a voice, and to Nintendo, nobody knew how Fox's voice was going to sound like until you came along and brought him to life,
Yeah, and as I recall, like going back to what we were talking about, I think I recall, and again, I didn't even know Star Fox was like the main character that I was auditioning for. I think they had just a bunch of characters, but I think during the audition, you just do a bunch of different voices, and then they just thought, oh, this is what I think he should sound like, and that's how it happened. Somebody decided that whatever little voice I was doing was going to be Fox, at least for a few games. So that's pretty cool, Somebody had a vision.
Do you mind giving us a sample of our childhood and give us a little sample of Fox McCloud?
No, if I can remember how to do it. I'm game, so to speak. Just before I do that, I was cleaning out my office a couple months back, and I had a whole file of Star Fox stuff, and I found the original script of, yeah, it was very sentimental. Yeah. So anyway, okay, here we go. Just what I needed to see. Star Wolf. Let's take care of these guys first. Peppy, stop asking me to do a barrel roll. I can't let you do that, Wolf. Dun, da, 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 fan questions.
There's something I've always wanted to hear. Can you say a French word in Fox's voice?
A French word? Like Peugeot?
A croissant? I don't know.
They didn't give a specific word?
No, they didn't. I did translate a few words that I actually forgot how to say in French. Star Wolf, bâton à bord, Sega.
Star Wolf, bâton à bord, Sega. Star Wolf, merci beaucoup. I don't know.
I can't believe it took us that long to figure it out. You could just say that. Can you remember what it was like seeing the gameplay of Star Fox 64 for the first time and hearing your voice?
I didn't play the game, but my kids had a console, or our next door neighbor had a console, brought it over because we had a rec room upstairs in our house, still the same house. Kids are gone, of course. And they were playing, what was the other one? There was like a surfing game. Oh man, it came in a bundle, I think. I can't remember what came with what, but I just walked upstairs and I heard what I thought was my voice, and I said, "What are you guys playing?" It's Star Fox, and that's me. And my son was like, "That's my dad." So, yeah, I didn't play it, but my kids played it, unbeknownst to me. And then shortly thereafter, I think I got paid for it. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I mean, just to see the fruits of your labor and see what those incredible people came up with, and how I still don't know how they did it back then with the technology they had, but it's cool. It's still cool looking. I once in a while will look at a video clip on YouTube and just like, wow, that was a long time ago, but it's so kitschy and almost corny and good message and all that kind of stuff at the same time,
How do you like your coffee?
Well, that's somebody must know that I'm kind of a coffee freak. Okay, here's the story. When I was doing radio, most of the time I was doing morning radio, so that meant getting up like at 3:30 in the morning to be on the air by 5 and preparing and all that stuff. everyone I worked with drank coffee, but for some reason, I think my mom told me when I was a kid, if you drink coffee, you'll be up all night and it's gonna screw your body up. So I never drank coffee when I was working all those years, mornings. So I would wake up with a glass of water, instead of coffee. So jumping ahead, after I wasn't doing radio anymore, my son, who is a musician, traveled around the world quite a few times. And instead of them going to bars and getting drunk, they would go to coffee shops, and he became quite the coffee connoisseur. And then I got the bug and started buying, espresso machines and learning how I take barista classes. I've got my barista certificate and all that stuff. And so I've just kind of worked my way up equipment-wise and skill-wise, and now I have a commercial machine. I'll send you a picture if you'd like. So to answer that person's question who looks at my coffee, I like lattes, mostly because I love trying to do latte art, which is one of the hardest things I've ever done. Unless you do them like 50 or 100 times a day, if you're working in a coffee shop, it's all repetitive motion. If you're just doing a couple a day, it's very difficult. But once in a while, I can pull it off, and they look pretty. So latte is my answer, or cappuccino, but latte first because of the milk art.
You and I need to talk about coffee. I'm a huge coffee fan myself here.
Oh, wonderful. Cool. Okay, we'll have to talk about coffee. I'm on a subscription right now. The company's called Trade. So every 2 weeks they send you a different bag from around the country. Like right now I'm drinking something from Philadelphia, and I'm kind of a light roast coffee. I don't like dark beans because I like the fruity flavor of coffee. But the machine I have, if you go into a nice coffee shop, that's what you'll see. It's called a La Marzocco. They're like a Ferrari of coffee machines. And they're also, La Marzocco's world headquarters is based here in Seattle, even though they're an Italian company.
Go figure, that's where Starbucks started.
Yeah, well, Starbucks here, if you want to get into this crazy stuff, Starbucks originally used La Marzocco machines when they first got going, but they're called semi-automatic machines. Well, now Starbucks, because of the crazy high volume, they use automatic machines, so the baristas don't have to know their stuff like they used to when they were using the old La Marzocco machines. Like I said, I'll send you a picture. I'll show you my machine. It's pretty beautiful, and it makes incredible coffee.
That reminded me of the mug I saw earlier in the internet, Star Fox Coffee.
Oh, cool. Maybe a Christmas present. There we go. Since we're not going anywhere for Christmas.
Are you interested in doing a live-action TV show someday in the future?
Live-action TV show. Does this person know how old I am? I am a grandfather. It would be dead action. That's what it would be. Or no action. I'll say yes. Yes, I am. Send me a script immediately before it's too late. Call my agent that I don't have. I do, but...
Between 1997 and now, do you feel like your voice for Fox has changed throughout the years that you've been portraying him?
That's interesting because when I think of things like that, I think about singers, like, for example, somebody like Paul McCartney or Stevie Wonder. These are like classic people I'm mentioning now, but their range was absolutely incredible. Stevie Wonder can still hit the high notes. Paul McCartney, because of all the screaming that he did with songs like Helter Skelter, has to really watch himself now. He kind of blew his voice out. But the last time we did Starlink, we played old clips, and I would read over, the original lines from way back, like from '64. And for the most part, I could match it up. But I have noticed, it's just time. Your voice, your vocal cords, everything, everything droops, and things aren't as taut as they used to be. So. That's why when you do stuff like the Star Fox, like when he dies, for example, it's like, you always do those lines last because those blow your voice out. And if you got to come back the next day, it's like, oh man, we should have done those last. So they know better. It's changed a little bit, I'm sure. I think not to blow my own horn, but I think I've become a little better actor than I was when I first did it, just because I've taken a lot of classes about voice work acting. And I don't care how old you are or how good you are, you can always learn new stuff. And that's kind of my mantra. I always like to learn new stuff, like coffee. And I restore jukeboxes and gumball machines and stuff, things I've never done before. I always like to try new things. So as far as like doing voice work, the styles change all the time, and there are new things to learn from various teachers that teach people like me. And so I hope that answered your question.
Which game did you have the most fun working for?
I think probably Starlink, because the lines were a lot different, and they had a lot of the animation already done, so you could fill in your voice watching yourself. And that was a cool challenge. I think just because they were different and new lines, that was really fun. So I would say, yeah, the last game we did, Starlink, that was a blast.
Have you seen any of the Star Fox fan art? If so, what are your opinions on it?
Yeah, there are so many people that send cool stuff. Oh gosh, so many talented people, young and old, and it just blows me away. Some of the stuff people do. I have some artwork in the house here that somebody sent me that I'm just totally blown away by. It's frameable. It's just cool. I never tire of that kind of stuff. I'm just totally over the moon about everyone's talents. So send away, please.
In Fox's voice, can you do a short McDonald's commercial ad parody?
Short McDonald's commercial?
Yeah, I'm guessing this person knows that you do commercial work.
Oh, oh God, that's interesting. Well, before I do that, a little backstory. I mentioned that my son's a musician. It's really tough to make a living, especially now with COVID. I mean, you can't tour anymore. It's rough. People are struggling. But my son's music has been on McDonald's commercials, and he's a member of SAG-AFTRA, and so, I mean, it like bought him a house. That's how cool it is when you land one of those spots. And it's kind of the same thing if you do VO work, although it's not quite as lucrative unless you can kind of name your price. Those jobs are, rarefied. If you can land a McDonald's spot, you're pretty good. So let me see if I can just find some McDonald's.
There's nothing like waking up every morning to your loved ones. And at Lilat, you can always feel the love. Just check out everyone's favorite couple, 2 sausage Lilat muffins with egg sandwiches. It's easy to fall in love with the perfect combinations of ingredients. Sometimes love doesn't cost much. At participating Lilats, single item at regular price. Ba-da-ba-ba, barrel roll.
I love it. Thank you so much. Well, actually, it was more of a fan question, but I also loved it.
Sure. Cool. Okay.
With all that being said, we reached the end of the interview. Don't go anywhere just yet. It's giveaway time. All you have to do is answer the following question in the comment section below. Which Star Fox video game is your favorite and why? Check the description box below for further details. And remember to, looks like we have an incoming message from the Great Fox. Patching it through.
This is Star Fox saying so long, but hold on. Don't forget to subscribe to the Kitsune Network. Over and out. Way out.